Good morning. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee and Chat with Hallie Bridgman. I'm so happy you could join me this morning. I have my cup of coffee, so I hope you have your cup of coffee or tea or whatever you drink in the morning, and you have a few minutes to sit back while we chat. So I'm doing something different today. I have one phone going with a Facebook Live, and I have one phone going with a YouTube Live, and I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm willing to try it. And it is July 9th. That means that we have one more month before our summer break is over. If you can believe that, I feel like we just started summer break. And which also means that my kids are here. And so my office door is open, and there's no telling what you're going to hear. And, you know, you get to experience Hallie Bridgman live. So there you go. All right, today I'm answering the question. Oh, first I want to talk about my weekend. So last weekend we had our boys' birthday party. We do a combined party in June because one was born in May and one was born in July. And so last weekend my best friend surprised us by coming in town. She moved in May, and it was really hard to say goodbye to her. And she called on a Wednesday and said, "What are you doing this weekend?" And we said, "Oh, it's the boys' birthday party." And then on Saturday morning, she showed up, and it was wonderful, and she stayed with us. Her and her family stayed with us for the weekend. And then Greg's best friend, Gene Rowley, who is our voice guy and who does website work for us and stuff, came and was here this past weekend. And so we were so thrilled to have our best friends. Like, in a week's time, we both got fed with so much love and friendship, and you know, our souls were just ready for it. So anyway, Gene is celebrating his new book, Paradox, and it's by E.G. Rowley. And what's really exciting about that is that he also does our voice. He does all of my audiobooks, and so he's also done the audiobook of his book. And so he has this thing called a jump card where you can buy, it looks like a credit card, and you can buy, it has the audiobook and the ebooks on it together. And if you've never listened to Gene Rowley's voice reading a book, go to my website and go to any one of my books, and you can click a sample and listen to his amazing God-given talent. So he was here this weekend and brought us our autographed copy of Paradox, and it was really nice to see him and his wife Mandy. All right, so today's question: what is your favorite book and why? Or who's your favorite author and why? So I'm going to give my little disclaimer that I give to anyone who asks me that question, because it's really common for readers to ask authors about their favorite book. And the fact is that since I have been writing fiction, I don't like to read fiction anymore. I still love to read. I was a voracious reader before I started writing. I would be reading a book while carrying a book that's next to read. I would read at stoplights. I would read, you know, on lunch breaks. I would read walking down the street. I was one of those readers, but when I started writing, something happened with my brain, and I can't turn off this internal editor. And so I don't enjoy trying to correct in my mind another author's work, or rewording sentences, or thinking about how it should have been. And because I can't turn that off unless a book is phenomenally, fantastically, awesomely written, I simply can't lose myself in it and forget I'm reading. And then it just basically becomes work. And so I don't even hardly try anymore. Like, I'll read Agatha Christie because I don't do that to her books, and I think it's because of the style that they were written. And there's every once in a while someone will say, "I promise you, you can read this book," and I'll read it and I'll be like, "That was a good book." It took me back into my joy of reading. But before I started writing, I read secular romances, and I had favorite authors. And so thinking about what made them my favorite author, what it is the way the characterization is done to make it feel like what you're reading is real, and that you're actually connected with the person, the character that you're reading. When that kind of depth of characterization is done, and it can pull you in, and like I said, make you forget that you're reading, but then also make you experience what the character is experiencing. So I am naturally a very stoic person. I don't react emotionally very easily. And in real life situations, I tend to be the one who immediately goes into action instead of reaction. And because of that, it's really hard for me to have an emotional reaction with a character. And because I typically don't even have emotional reactions with real life people. And so when an author can write a character that draws me in and then gives me an emotional reaction to what the character is experiencing instead of this stoic, logical reaction, then I know that author is amazing, because it's hard. I have a really hard shell to break through. And so I had some, and I remember when I was reading the final copy of Topaz Heat, which is book 4 in my Jewel series, I was at the end, and there's this really emotional scene in a hospital. I found myself having an emotional reaction to that, and I was really surprised because, number one, I knew how it ended, and number two, I had written it, so there was no reason for me to have an emotional reaction to it, but I did. And so I thought, well, if I seem to have accomplished what it was that I was looking for with establishing my characters, if even I was able to have an emotional reaction to it, then I was able to do it. So, but like I said, my favorite authors were not Christian authors. I read like Nora Roberts and Judith McNaught and, authors like that, and Julie Garwood. And so it's hard for me to say that this is the type of book that I would read today if I was still reading, simply because I would be reading Christian romance instead of secular romance, and I would be still seeking that author that was able to give me that amazing emotional connection with the readers in a way that is hard to have happen with me. So I would love to know what your favorite authors are, though, because readers are always looking for good authors. And so if you have your favorite author whose book you will get no matter, my favorite authors, when I was the reader, I didn't even have to read the back of the book. I would just be like, oh, a new one, and I would buy it. Or I would go to the library and scope out, new releases and just look for certain names. And I had 4, and I read everything that they wrote. And I read other things as fillers too, but there were 4 that I would just I wouldn't miss a single book for them. So anyway, thank you for that question. And I hope that you guys have an amazing week. Next week, my kids will be at Magic Camp in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And so I'll be coming to you live from Bowling Green. And we're looking forward to that. So God bless you and have a wonderful day.